welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about fabric composition. So let's just start by doing a bit of a compare and contrast between natural and synthetic fibres. So I've actually selected 5 advantages and 5 disadvantages of each. Now I've actually got my phone with me so that I make sure that I get everything right. So let's start with natural fibres. Advantages of natural fibres is that they are biodegradable. Because they are actually natural, they come from the earth, they're plant-based, most of the time they can actually be animal-based, but they do actually break down. Another advantage is that they are breathable. They actually have little holes even in the fibres that enable your skin to be able to breathe, and that is actually a wonderful advantage of them. They have a luxurious feel, such as silk, for example. Nothing can really beat the feeling of silk against your skin. They are temperature regulating, and that is also because of the fact that they are breathable. So that means that as you're wearing them, that when you sweat, you can actually then allow that moisture to then leave your body. So it won't be stuck and it won't be trapped between you and the fibre. So it will actually then be able to leave your body. And this is an associated property, moisture wicking. So that means, once again, when you are perspiring, that sweat will actually leave your body. Disadvantages of natural fibres is that they do crease more easily, less durable than synthetic fibres, simply because they are biodegradable, and because they are more natural fibres, they have a lot more friction between them. So that means that as the particles actually rub against each other, you can actually then get a little bit of wear and tear. They are more expensive simply because of the process to get them to you. It is a lot more labour intensive and time intensive. They can also shrink in the wash. Unfortunately, I've had some experiences of that where wool can become felt if it is actually overwashed. Also, some natural fibres need to be dry cleaned, and that can add to the expense of caring for that garment. There can also be a variation in both quality and colour. If you actually like the charm of natural fibres, then the variation is actually fine. All right, now let's have a look at synthetic fibres. So 5 advantages of synthetic fibres. One is that they are durable. That means that they're very long lasting. They can actually last for a very, very long time, and you don't really need to do anything to them. They are cheaper to purchase, and that is simply because of the processes that go into making them. Easier to care for. Very rarely does anything synthetic need to be dry cleaned. You can just pop them in the wash and then they will come out nice and clean. They tend to be more shrink resistant than natural fibres, the lifetime of the garment. And they also tend to be more moth resistant than natural fibres will be. Disadvantages of synthetic fibres. They do require chemicals to make them. So they do actually consume sometimes harmful chemicals and chemicals that can actually harm the environment. They also require fossil fuels. Okay, so petrochemicals are actually used to make, for example, polyester, nylon, vinyl. Okay, so their feed products are actually fossil fuels. They are non-biodegradable. So its durability is both an advantage and a disadvantage. Because they are synthetically made, they last for a very long time. They are basically a very stable polymer fibre, and that means that they just don't break down. And that can be a little disadvantage for the environment. They are also non-sweat wicking because they're basically plastics. Okay, synthetic fibres are basically plastics, and they don't allow any moisture or heat to leave. So they do get trapped between you and your skin. So sweat and heat gets trapped between your skin and the garment. They can also be flammable as well. So there are also blends. Now blends can be a combination of a natural and a synthetic fibre, or it can even be a blend between 2 natural fibres or between 2 synthetic fibres. There's a whole lot. It's really huge, the combination that you can come up with. Now, the reason that you would actually have a blend is to get the advantage of each of the component fibres and so that their disadvantages disappear. So this scarf here is actually a beautiful blend of silk and polyester. It is actually a combination of synthetic and a natural fibre, but it does have the feel of silk, and the fact that it is actually polyester, I guess, would make it more affordable, because it is such quite a large scarf. So I could imagine that it would be very expensive if it was completely silk. But it is just such a beautiful scarf. I really do love it, and I've worn it quite a bit. So it does the same job as a 100% silk scarf. It feels beautiful. Now, silk is obviously the Rolls Royce of all of the fibres. Nothing whispers luxury like silk. And I actually have it here in this beautiful silk scarf. And I must admit, it is a lot more luxurious than the last scarf that I showed you, even though that was beautiful. The feel of this is just unparalleled. And yeah, I think for all of those items that you want really close to your skin, such as a pillowcase, pajamas, scarves, I do think that whenever you can afford it, I would just go for silk. I would just up the ante a little bit and go for something that is a little bit special. It's obviously made from silkworms, and the whole process is very labour intensive. It takes a long time. So that is really why silk is so expensive. But you know, if you look after it, it will actually last a really long time. But yeah, I do actually think that silk is beautiful. It has a lovely sheen to it as well. And it's not like satin, whereas satin can look over glossy and it can look like a cheap gloss. Whereas the sheen on silk is just, it's a little bit more pearlescent, and it's just taken it back a notch. So it's just so beautiful, magnificent. Linen is one of my favourites. It is also plant-based, and linen can actually be very rough, and it can be very hard to keep looking neat. I personally do love linen, and I wear a lot of linen, but I do accept that the creases can sometimes drive me mad. So these pants here that I've got are actually a linen viscose blend. So once again, you've got the advantage of linen, and then by having a little bit of viscose in there, it makes it a little bit more durable. And I must admit, after a whole day of wearing these, the creases are not as obvious. Cotton is another natural fibre that is just beautiful. Now, it is a bit of a thirsty crop, and environmentally, it is actually not that well regarded because it consumes so much water. So if you really are concerned about the environment, what I recommend is that you look for it at the label, and it needs to be part of the Better Cotton Initiative, BCI. It will actually be really clear on the label. You can use that criteria as a filter and only purchase items made of cotton that are part of the Better Cotton Initiative, the crop and the processes, so that it consumes less water. So this scarf here that I have is from Carolina Herrera, and it's a cotton silk blend. It's just beautiful. It's 72% cotton, and I just love it. It's a wonderful scarf for summer. I just think cotton is a beautiful fabric, and it is definitely something that I have a lot of in my wardrobe. And I'm a lot more aware going forward, whenever I buy anything that's brand new made of cotton, I'm going to use that as part of my criteria as well. So this cotton linen dress is just gorgeous. I think when you see a dress made out of cotton linen, either as a blend or individually, as a summer dress, I think that's when it really comes into its own. And I just really love this dress. So this is a very traditional blue and white stripe. It just screams summer. It's so classic. I love the design of it. I just love everything about this dress. It's draping beautifully. It's not sticking to my skin. Every box is ticked in using cotton and linen for a summer dress. Wool is a wonderful fibre for keeping you warm. It is obviously grown from animals like sheep and goats and llamas, and then the fibres can actually be knitted together, such as in this dress here, or it could even be woven. But wool is so lightweight and it does actually keep you warm. I do think that sometimes blends for woolen garments are actually good because wool can be a little bit itchy. So I think when it comes to wool, you just need to experiment a little bit and find what works for you. So I definitely find that when it comes to being warm in winter, I do think that wool is far superior to anything that I can get from 100% synthetic. But I know that you also have to balance out budget as well. So Cupro is actually derived from cotton. These pants are Cupro. So Cupro is made from regenerated cellulose fibre, which is cotton based, and it is just so sustainable, a really good fibre. It uses cotton, so its chemical composition, its fibre composition is actually derived from cotton, which is a natural fibre. But because it is actually the pulp, so it's really just a way of recycling all of the leftovers, if you like. And these pants are just amazing. They feel so beautiful. They flow so easily simply because the fibre is so fine. And I really love the fact that they are breathable as well. So you see the flow of them? Just magnificent. So they do have a lovely, lovely flow to them, and they just feel so amazing. It's hard to even describe. What they feel like on the outside is not the same as what they feel like on the inside. So this top here is actually made of lyocell, which is cellulose derived from organic wood, which once again is really sustainable. It feels so beautiful, and it is actually very breathable as well. It's so lightweight, which is just a brilliant fibre for the middle of summer. So once again, I could have this for really good sun protection. I could have it all over me, but it is actually covering my skin and allowing me to breathe. Now, when it comes to hard-wearing items such as belts, shoes and bags, I do actually prefer leather, and I understand that some people don't like leather because of the processes involved and what it does to animals. I get all of that. But I personally do really like leather, and I've always been so impressed with everything that I've ever got from leather. They last so long and the quality is just unmistakable. Through the life of the item, they will actually always look really good. So leather is obviously from the skin of a dead animal. So people would have different views about that. I understand that, but this is just an example of a leather bag, and it is just magnificent, the stitching and everything. So when you've got something that is hard wearing, you need to have the fabric that matches it. So I personally don't like getting any bags that are made out of fabric, certainly not ones that I want to last a long time. Alrighty, so this is a big group of fibres, and I really just basically put them all in together because polyesters and other sorts of polymers are all petrochemical based. So they have actually got fossil fuels as their source material, and they are synthetically created. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, but I do think that you need to find the right fibre for the right purpose. So this scarf here is actually 100% polyester. You know, when you do have to balance your budget as well and you can't afford a silk scarf, a polyester scarf is fine. I personally don't really like acrylic because it is itchy against my skin, but this is perfectly okay. And it is a really sweet little scarf. Now this skirt here is 100% polyester. I did buy it in an op shop. Usually I don't like getting anything polyester. That's one of the first things that stops me in my tracks. It's one of my first filtering systems. And so I wouldn't go out of my way to buy a polyester skirt. But I was looking for something yellow because I wanted to start experimenting with yellow. And I did think that it was a beautiful design. So once again, polyester is great for durability. And I think on this skirt, it works really well because it doesn't crease very easily. So it keeps its structure, which I do really appreciate. So I bought this bag in an op shop, and it was actually from an Estee Lauder. So I guess it was from some kind of a giveaway. Anyway, it's from PVC, polyvinyl chloride, which is also a polymer. It's synthetic, and I can just hear it squeaking. I don't know if you can hear that, but that is just a real giveaway. And because it is just a really practical tote, I think it's fine. I personally wouldn't go out of my way to buy something out of PVC. Can you hear that squeaking? Anyway, it's beautifully constructed and everything, but obviously they have cut corners and cut costs by making it out of PVC rather than leather. Something else that is really good to have polyester would be these kind of shopping bags. So I really don't want to come out and say anything is good or bad. It's just about fitting it to the purpose. This is a great little shopper. Another really good use for synthetics would be a waterproof raincoat. You wouldn't want to wear something made out of wool in the rain because then it will turn into felt. But this is wonderful. So this is 100% vinyl, and this would be great for keeping me waterproof. I can actually walk in the rain in something like this. So even though I wouldn't choose vinyl for a fashion item, but for keeping dry, absolutely. Now, polymers with elastane are really good for garments where you want a little bit of stretch. Elastane is wonderful for exercise gear. So I no longer buy clothes out of viscose elastane, but these exercise pants are wonderful. So they're just leggings from Elo Yoga. And of course I can stretch, I can do anything that I need to do in them. Just wonderful. And this top is nylon elastane, and it is just wonderful as well. So I do choose the right fibre for the right garment. So here we have polyurethane, which is also referred to as faux leather. And this is also a polymer. It is a plastic. You can probably hear the squeaking. This is definitely a little bit of fun, but I don't make a habit of buying shoes or bags or belts out of polyurethane simply because it's not as durable. And I think if I'm going to spend a certain amount of money on something like shoes or a bag, a big investment piece, then I want it to last a long time. So there you go. That is a little bit of a roundup of fabric composition. And I really hope that this has helped you to guide you to find the right kind of fibre for the garment that suits you. So if you like my content and you want to see more, please like and subscribe and click on all notifications, and then you'll get every video that I've ever published. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be talking about quality and quantity. I really hope you'll join me next week.